and below there is an altar. Probably it talks about the ceremonial activities. So otherwise you will get holes like this. Look at this. So very common pattern, lines and half circles around the pottery.
I have found something.
Ooh, look at this! Ooh.
Oh, are you serious?
It's the mouth because for pure water probably.
And also, this Yerkapı place looks like a pyramid. And right at the top of the Yerkapı, there is a Sphinx gate.
Hangi üniversitesininki? Okay.
This was one of a beautiful night with my friend Mali, and now we stay in the camper van. This place is so beautiful. Actually, we are near to Hattusa. Okay, so now the destination to
Hattusa.
Some way, then you know that I'm super interested in Hittites. And here we are in Lion's Gate, one of the gates that people of Hattusa used to enter the city. You see where it got its name from. There are two lions right in the entrance of the gate, and I will show you what it looks like and what was it back in the day in late Bronze Age in Hattusa. Well, as you can see, the main point of having a gate this high is that soldiers can watch who is coming from where. So this city is so high, and basically I can tell that Hattusa was made only for security, because this soil is not available to do some agriculture. The weather conditions is so harsh in Hattusa as well. In winters it's so cold, and in summer times it's mostly hot in the daytime, and in the night it's getting cold. It's not that suitable place to live, but its only advantage is that it's located in such a place that you can observe if any enemy is coming from, I don't know, let's say 1 week of distance. You can see that because it's already seeing kilometers and kilometers away. The doors of the gates are sealed every night, and every morning it gets unsealed so that everyone will know if someone's entered the city from the gates or not. It's basically it. Let's move on. Being on the road, it's exciting stuff. What you doing, bro?
I'm just laying down. Another gate. Yerkapı. How could you translate it?
Well, they didn't translate it, so both languages. It says Yerkapı.
You can translate it as ground gate.
Yeah, ground gate or floor gate, something like that. This place was built especially for protection of the king, as far as I know, because it's just like some hidden place that king can run away if any emergency stuff comes out.
In the information it says actually the otherwise.
Really?
It says that it's more like symbolic, other than any purpose, military purpose or political purpose. It says that it's symbolic, and it symbolizes the crown of the city. So it is a high structure, it's a large structure, and it constitutes a crown-like structure for the city.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's go.
Move on.
Okay, here we are. Mali, how sick is this place?
Terribly.
Well, there are people, tourists around asking questions, and one of them asked me if they can go a tunnel-like place, and this is what they call a tunnel-like place. I can now understand why this place takes a lot of attention, where other places were just seen as stones, old stone, and all those kind of stuff. They just built this place like a puzzle. There is nothing to construct this place as a tunnel, as a building, as whatever it is, but there is nothing between the rocks. They just stand still for 3,000 years from now.
Yeah, more than 3,000.
More than 3,000 years. This place stands still.
Knowledgeable about this place particularly, but I know that Hittites gave great importance to a symbolic gate to the underworld, right? So when I was walking down and it was dark and it was very narrow, you feel like you going into some places that you never been, some places
Mysterious places.
Mysterious places. So perhaps this gate is another way to Hittites to demonstrate their understanding of underworld.
I agree, yeah. Okay, we are right in the corner of the Yerkapı, and there is something that I figured out before, and my comment was a bit touchy for my friend here because he's, you know, all about archaeology and he is doing an MA, right?
Yeah, it's
MA on archaeology right now. And I said, this Yerkapı place looks like a pyramid. And right at the top of the Yerkapı, there is a Sphinx gate. Sphinx is generally characterized by Egyptians, and you know, when I hear about sphinxes, I think about Egypt first. And the thing here is, this Yerkapı is looking towards Egypt basically, and it is in the south end of Hattusa. And what I say is, they done it on purpose. They made something looking like a pyramid, and they placed a sphinx at the top of it, and they made it face south. So I think they've done it on purpose, and they wanted to symbolize they're facing Egypt over here.
Like, first of all, pyramids are the very basic shape of constructions, right? So, and it's not a full pyramid. It's it has a prismatic shape, but it's not a full pyramid, of course. And even though you can call it a pyramid, but it's a very basic shape, and it's towards south. Maybe that's true, but so there is no evidence for it.
Yeah, there is no evidence. I'm just making a comment, just trying to find some.
I think it's very little. There is a little chance that Hittites thought about it.
What makes you think about?
Also for the Sphinx, or for the Sphinx, they are very common. So they are in Mesopotamia, they are in Egypt, they are in other continents, even Incas and Mayas built similar shapes.
This is looking like a half pyramid, not a complete pyramid, I agree, but this is looking like a half pyramid, and this Sphinx gate is facing south. It could face the west, it could face the east. Anyway, it's speculation, so I won't insist on my comment. We gotta take a deep breath. Hold it. Just kidding. It was tiring. Yeah, it won't help.
It didn't help.
Anyway, anytime. While you were playing clarinet, I was explaining the Lion Gate's function. It's seeing lots of places. So this city is located in the very high top of a mountain, let's say a hill or whatever it is. This is a high city, and it's seeing lots of area, so if any enemy army is coming, you could easily point it out.
So in the late period, the Empire period, or even earlier, Hittites had many borderline cities, borderline towns, and military constructions all around Anatolia. If they see an army over Hattusa without knowing them, they already, you know, I won't say the word, but they are done. So
just like in Kashgar attack, right?
Yeah, well, Kashgars, for the people who doesn't know anything about
Kashgars are people who lived in Black Sea in those eras.
Black Sea, mostly mountainous people. They were not living by the sea, but by the mountains, and they were doing husbandry, and they didn't have any agricultural activities, not much. So they constantly raid Anatolia, Hittites' land, Hittite core land, and even once they burned down the city.
We were in the museum of Boğazkale today, so we've seen the original Sphinx gate in the museum. The ones that I will just show you in a minute are reconstructions. Sphinx gate, as you may see. This original one is right now in Boğazkale Museum.
So when you look at it, when you look at the Sphinx, it's much more Mesopotamian than Egyptian, right? So they had many figures like Lamassu, Sphinx creatures, and this is there's a serious resemblance among them. If you compare to the Sphinx of Egypt, they are different.
Here we are with the Sphinx.
Fake one.
Fake one. Here is another one.
Obviously they are heavenly creatures, and when you see they have wings and they have lion bodies with human heads. So at their head, on top of their head, there is a sign. It's actually a hieroglyphic sign, Luwian hieroglyphic sign for the deity. So, but they're also used as the decorative things. So that's what hieroglyphs offers. You can use them in architectures, you can use them in paint, and they mean something, and also they look great. So when we talk about Bronze Age religions, first thing that we should understand that they are different than today's religions, because Bronze Age religions doesn't much offer to public about the religious affair. For example, in the Mesopotamian religions, all rituals conducted by the professionals, so they know how to deal with gods. So when you believe in many gods and when you believe them, they can go angry and they can destroy you. You try to be careful, simply because you don't want to have someone that doesn't know anything about religion make some rituals and anger the gods. So Hittite religion actually is more public than Mesopotamian religions. There are festivals, for example, a very important part of Hittite culture. Public attend those festivals. They were a very important part of those festivals.
Okay, now we are in the King's Gate. So here we are in the King's Gate, and this King's Gate is important in terms of war, because they used this gate to get their army out of the city, and they led their army inside of the city using this gate. So especially the King's Gate is important for war, for that kind of purpose. And this guy right here is a deity of worship and all the kind of, army stuff, all the glory stuff. So let's move on. Similar to the other gates, this gate was also sealed at the night times and opened at the morning, and they were just checking out if some foreigner or some spy entered the city or not. And as you can see, this area is so huge and so open. So Hittite army were heading to their wars from here, from this gate. That's the King's Way, King's Gate. Moving on.
Here we are in Nisantas. So this place is has Luwian hieroglyphics in it, and it's believed that it's done by Suppililiuma II, the last king of the Hittites. And in these writings, it is believed that Suppililiuma explain and tell us about his deeds, his actions.
So imagine it like this. You're a king of a hundreds and hundreds years old empire, very first big kingdom of Anatolia, and you suck, you ruin everything, you end the empire period, and even though you've done those, even though you're so irresponsible and very unsuccessful king, you still do this because you want to be known well. But Suppililiuma II, you suck, bro.
I will object that.
In what way?
I don't know much about Suppililiuma II, but there was a great crisis in whole region, in all Near East. That
You mean the fire incident?
No, we call it Bronze Age collapse.
Bronze Age collapse. I see.
So all states collapsed. The only state that survived was Egypt, in some way, and Assyrians in the east. Many states has been collapsed.
So you say that we cannot keep Suppililiuma II responsible from this, Hittite collapse.
I don't know. Perhaps he was a cool guy.
Was he?
I don't know. Perhaps.
The only thing that is cool about Suppililiuma II is Suppililiuma name, because Suppililiuma I was the great king.
I will object that.
Always there is something to object. By the way, we're near the big castle right there. The castle, the big great castle, is basically the palace of Hittite country, and we are in the upper city right now, and between the upper and the lower city the big castle is located. And there is very famous Kadesh agreement, very first written and known agreement between two countries for peace, and it is also found right there in Great Castle. Especially I'm talking about the Hittite version of the agreement was found right there, and we're heading to the exact place where we got the Kadesh agreement. Okay, let's go and see. Are you against Suppililiuma I, or you don't call him as the great king?
I read Musili's
Prayers.
annals and prayers, and he described his father as the evil man. So I'm on his side. He was like the Hitler of the era.
I agree with the fact that Musili was a good guy. Musili was one of the coolest, probably the coolest Hittite king for me, and I like him the most. I agree with that. But, just empathize with him. You're praying to the gods to save your country from the plague. So, you need a scapegoat, and you make it your already gone father. So,
Who killed his brother for the throne?
Suppililiuma I.
Let's say that.
Yes, Suppililiuma I. All right. But killing brother issue has nothing to do with the plague. So we cannot believe
He directly brought plague to Hittite.
Yes, I know, but this was something else. This was about Hittite prince going to Egypt to become the king of Egypt, but some other people killed him right before he arrives to Egypt to become the king of Egypt and to become a husband of Ankesenamon, and his name was Zananza, son of Suppililiuma I. Yes, that is very interesting story. We will get to there. Before the Great Castle, we came to see the Hieroglyphic Chamber, Chamber 2.
Suppililiuma II was the last king in the Hittite, in Hattusa. And there is a great dam beyond this hieroglyphic chamber, and probably it is used by Suppililiuma to enlarge his deed. So it has Luwian hieroglyphics in this period. In this last period of the Hattusas, Luwian hieroglyph was dominant. In the text, it mentions how Suppililiuma waged war and how Suppililiuma enlarged the Hittite Empire, and also his other deeds. So hieroglyphics start from the left, and in the line below you can see that signs face towards the left side. So they start with like this and then go around like this and go around like this and so on. So they do not write always left to right, but they change the direction from every line. So hieroglyphics is actually very complicated to fully understand, but still there are some signs that you can immediately understand. For example, sign, look at this. Probably is used for to speak. You can see all around the place. And there's a foot sign, which means probably to go somewhere. And we have, look at this. So we have a ram hat. And below there is an altar. Probably it talks about the ceremonial activities.
Mali is flying a drone right now. How does it feel?
It feels strange.
This place was the palace of Hittite king, and you can see it was big, and this is reproduction photo, if you will. The F building is where the Kadesh agreement was found. E and F were the parts that mostly had the cuneiform tablets that are both in Hittite and Akkadian language. And this D part was a hole that Hittite king was most of the time inside of there. And for instance, ambassadors of some other countries come and they see Hittite king in building D. And there are different kind of buildings, and I don't really know the function of them all, but this is in a summary what Royal Castle stands for. So let's go inside and see what else is worth to see inside of the castle.
So what we got here is probably a later period pottery, because Hittites don't have such textures in the pottery.
I also found this one. There's another one. So, Mali, aren't they supposed to be in museum or something like that?
No, of course not, because people use, for example, today we use plastic, right?
Yes.
So everywhere is plastic. You can find plastic forks and plastic spoons everywhere. So ancient people in Bronze Age, and also so on, they use pottery. So perhaps these ones are very regular. So you can find it. You can find it on the place, on the surface even, because some worms and rats bring them surface.
These are from later ages, you say, so probably not Hittite
Not
age,
Hittite, probably,
Greek or Roman, you say.
Yeah, probably not.
Mhm.
This is I'm sure that this is not Hittite.
Pottery.
This could be Hittite, but I don't know. So this could be also a Hittite, but you can see the difference. So this is well tempered and this is not. So this is more irregular. If you're gonna put some fire on it, you don't have to temper it well, because if you well tempered like this one, this is much more fragile. You see that? You cannot cook with this because it will crack immediately. But this is probably was harshly tempered and can be used to cook stuff, or maybe store stuff even. Little disclaimer: don't take this with you. Okay, so yes, they are not very valuable, perhaps, but they belong here. You just you can look at it, but just put them back.
So it's just 50 meters or something like that we're walking, and we immediately saw some stuff that date.
They're everywhere. So look at this. They're everywhere. So you can find it over there, over there.
They are everywhere, you say.
So this is a definitely cooking pot. So it stays like this. When people first know that I study archaeology, they ask, how do you know if there are something when you excavate? Because people think that we just randomly excavate things, but we do not. So this is of course a great mound that we are standing here, but you can see a little mound over there. So why does mounds form? So they are not natural structures. When people build something, when people live in a place, they create debris. Okay, so we know that ancient cities have this problem all over the ages. Because of the debris, their trash basically, city rise and rise. So even you build a city on a very flat floor, you will get elevation because of the debris. So we got here a little mound-like structure. Perhaps they have something under it. Probably they already excavated because this is Hattusa, and they probably refilled it.
Well, Hattusa is getting excavated since 100 years ago, right?
It's more than 100 years. It started in
Starting from Ottoman period, actually.
started from Ottoman period, yes. And for 100 years, Germans excavate here, and probably will go on for like maybe 30 years, 50 years. I don't know. But still, we gather related and important information from different periods.
By the way, you told me something new about Tarhuntaşa. For those who doesn't know where Tarhuntaşa is a place where basically Hittites used as their capital city for some time, and unfortunately we don't know where Tarhuntaşa stands today because it's not discovered city. But Mali just told me that there may some news that is coming from Konya, right?
Yeah, actually we don't know many places about Hittites because there are so many names in the written texts, but we don't know their places, exact places. And Tarhuntaşa, one of its important site, because as Çağatay said, it was used as capital for, even though it's a short time, probably it's a large city and a constructed city, not a naturally formed. They were doing survey in Konya, and they found a gate-like structure in the canal, in a modern canal, and they looked at it and they said that it could belong to Tarhuntaşa. So I hope it is, and I hope we will start excavate.
There is this very famous metal cuneiform tablet that belongs to Hittites in Anatolian Civilization Museum today, Ankara, and that tablet is explaining what happened between Kurunta and Tuthaliya IV. Kurunta is thinking that he must be the king of Hittites and Tarhuntaşa must be the capital city of Hittites, and Tuthaliya IV has some other ideas, so they eventually ended up in a war, and that metal tablet explains what happened between them and how did they figure it out, how did they solve their problems. Mali, anything extraordinary?
Not yet.
I have found something.
Ooh, look at this! Ooh.
Oh, are you serious?
Look at
Check
this.
this out.
Check this out. It's the mouth. It's the mouth because for pouring water probably.
And I also find this.
No, it's just burning places. Okay, just I need a clean thing. This is clean. Oh, okay, look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful. Look at this. Beautiful. It's the mouthpiece. You won't find that really easy.
Well, with that luck, you can easily get some seal for yourself.
If I do that, I don't know what will happen.
Well, if you find a seal,
probably I will escape to Mexico.
I will stop recording, and
And I
you will not even know because
Şuna bak, kafası kopmuş. Şuna bak lan. Bu ne acaba?
Sap.
Ha,
Şöyle.
sap handle, aynen.
This was a handle of a some sort of a what? Some sort of a cup?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, probably something like that. This is a handle.
A broken handle.
Broken handle. Mali, what you doing, bro?
So I find the painted pieces.
Really?
Yeah,
Let me see.
from the Greek period.
By the way, there are tons of stuff here. I mean, potteries are like stones everywhere. They're everywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, everywhere. But I'm not lucky to find any painted one.
You need an educated eye to find them. So very common pattern, lines and half circles around the pottery. Probably there are some complete versions of this pot somewhere in the museums of Anatolia. I don't know, but this is it.
Let's move on.
So
Oh,
you got
serious right now?
a big piece, not really
Not
excited
very
one.
special, but
Not
it
very
is big.
special, yeah, but it is big. Probably it belongs to very big storage cups.
Mhm.
So people can easily mistake this with a stone, but it's not. You can identify them. So they have different inner color. Stones don't do that. So and also make what
Show us closer.
so if you had some water, it would be nice. But we have a reddish color over here because of the iron. So it when it's burning, it's make a contact with oxygen, so it becomes reddish. But in the middle, there is no oxygen, so there is no reddish color. You can see that. If you have water, it will be clear. And also the voice. If you just touch.
By the way,
stone,
check this one.
look at this.
I never seen anything that with that color. So it got burned or something like that.
There are not burned, but probably perhaps they. I don't know the English word, but when you want to cups for liquids, you want to have a special layer in it.
Yeah,
So that-
it doesn't taste bad or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
So
see.
perhaps something like that.
Lots of other. Yeah, there are lots
Is it
of them.
painted? No, it's not.
No, it's not painted. It's another ordinary part. So right there, Mali is trying to find some good pieces to show you. I hope you can find some. And I am standing on the north end of the Great Castle. So you can see there are layers of the palace, the Great Castle, and right there, far part is the lower city, and our destination will end there for Hattusa. So we will be heading to the lower city lastly, and lower city has some interesting parts because lower city is the part where the local peoples live, but the upper city and the Great Castle is the place the aristocrats and the king lives. Basically, the lower part of the city is for the people of the city, the countryside of Hattusa, let's say, if that is a correct way to say it. Mali, anything special?
I got some rims. I got some rims.
Show us what you got.
So here's the rim. So a mouthpiece. When you picture it like this, rims are important because they give you the degree and you can just guess from this little piece. You can guess what kind of cup it is.
This time I found something, a handle. Malik, come and show us how to handle it. We are in the lower city right now. For the record, I'm saying this is the 7th of July 2021, and it's kind of crowded here because you can see the cars. It's crowded here because it's the first place that you can visit when you come to Hattusa. So the way starts from here. It's the lower city, it's the west part of the city. You start here and you end up here again. So we skipped this part previously just to come and visit here in a better way. By the way, I took some phenomenal drone shots, and those drone shots must be playing around here. You must be seeing them. This lower city's function is basically it's where people live, and there is a big temple right here in the lower city. Also, we have storage, huge storages in lower city.
Here is the temple entrance. And the ritual starts here. Any ritual will start here, and they will continue on different rooms and different cult rooms that we will see. So we can maybe walk and talk about what kind of rituals. Temple full of with altars, pools, and bathtubs that used in very different rituals. Hittites were wealthy when we think about their rituals. They had many kind of activities with the religion. Here's the famous, mysterious green stone, and there's nothing mysterious about it.
There's nothing mysterious about it, but the visitors, mostly Turkish tourists, here are looking for this stone, and some of them asked it as dilek taşı, wishing stone. In Turkish they called it dilek taşı, and when we translate it, it's a wishing stone for them. So they think it came from somewhere, some heavenly place to here, and you can wish something next to it by touching it, by kissing it.
It's very hot.
It must be.
It's really hot.
Yeah, they still believe in that. I guess there are some people who still believes in that, right?
Yeah, people loves those stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But let's talk about reality. What is this stone?
Mm-hmm.
So in Hittite written text, there are many religious stones in different colors, in different shapes, and you can see that this stone has been shaped by humans. So you can see that very edgy, very linear edges. So also some damages over there, and it has a spectacular color, right? It looks awesome, and there's a great chance that this stone was also given a religious value in the time of Hittites, but we don't really know that which stone, because they have names. They have their own names, and we don't know which this stone exactly is.
So what you're saying is, in Hittite writings there is lots of stones that are mentioned,
yes,
and lots of names, but we don't really know exactly what its name is, because there are lots of them, and we are not sure about the name of it.
What we know about this specific stone is that its original location is not here, and there's a great chance that these stones were public all over the streets perhaps, but we know that this stone was moved when temple was ruined already.
Mm-hmm.
So someone came here and saw the stone. Perhaps he or she knew that this was a special stone, and bring it to the temple and bury it there. So it was intentional buried over there when temple was in ruins. So already Hittites were gone in that period.
These huge rocks are very good examples how Hittites were experts on playing with these stones, huge rocks. They could shape them easily, they could do whatever they want to.
These are basements, these are base for the building. We wouldn't see these stones if we were living in the Hittite period. They were in the base. So these holes are created for a specific function. They function as a base material. So you can put some wood in it, you can put another stone in it, so that they will stack and they will not move. So these holes they are everywhere. They could look like a modern built things, but they are not. So how decent is this? Look at this.
There is a reconstructed wall of Hattusa, and just have a quick look at it. And we will be going there and talking about it in detail, but right now it's a quick look, and reconstruction looks successful. And the only reason, as far as I know, Mali, correct me if I'm wrong, the only reason that they constructed it in that way is the little cup in today Anatolia Civilization Museum, which is this. This is the only clue, as far as I know, that what Hittite walls were looking like back in the day. So they reconstructed it accordingly and rebuilt the walls. And we will go there and see them, take a closer look at them.
We had a couple of models, not just one. This is just one example. And we have few of them and their models, and probably they are close to reality. And also we found many bricks that were used in these towers, so we know that how they function. So when they were reconstructing this, they used only tools that are available in Bronze Age. So I think this is important, because this is not just the end product. People learned a lot of stuff about the building and about how to build a wall, how to build a tower in ancient times by building it. So they understand how they should care of it, how they should construct it. It was a very useful experiment. Example of applied archaeology, and applied archaeology we do all the time, and it's a great source of information. So well done.
Also, we are seeing lots of huge storage potteries, and as far as I know, there is no agriculture in Hattusa, right? Because wheat is coming from outside of the city, and what the stuff they eat is coming from the nearby cities, as far as I know.
In nearby cities or even Egypt, they bought grain from Egypt. We know that Egypt feed the Anatolia for a long time. So about these potteries, we know that Hittites loved festivals, okay, and Hittites loved to share food. So when there's a festival, people in the temple, the workers over there, priests over there, should prepare food for near the whole city. So these are the pots that they use probably in those festivals to cook food, to share food, etc.
Yeah, nice story. By the way, it is time for us to go to the temple, and in remembrance of Musili II, we can talk about arena, right?
Yeah, this temple is dedicated to storm god, this storm god, and the sun goddess of arena. So we have both cults in the same temple. So here we are going into the room B, a great hall. So probably this room had many entrance decoratives and stuff, but now we don't have any. So let's move into the hall and we will talk about the rituals. This is one of the biggest room in the temple, and probably public attend rituals over here. And they chant, they sing divine melodies.
We have a card telling us about the specifics of the temple, and we have A, B, C, and D parts of the temple. One of the most famous prayers in the whole human history probably, is Musili II's plague prayers, right?
Yes.
And you say there is a very strong possibility that those prayers were done here.
Perhaps at this very point, or perhaps Musili stands by this wall. We can't really know, of course, but to think about such things happened here, that we are in it, feels amazing.
Well, such a strong figure in history, Musili II is extraordinary character, exactly probably one of the most exciting characters in whole Hittite history for me, because you know he was dealing with lots of problems. There was a plague running all over the Hittite country, and there was problems with other countries. They were trying to attack even in any chance they could attack to Hattusa, they could attack to Hatti country, let's say. Then he learns that his beloved wife was also died because of the plague.
Yeah. His father died because of plague, and his brother, is one of his older brother, died because of the plague. His wife probably died because of plague. His mother was banished by his cruel father,
Suppililiuma the first, and
so,
his very evil second wife, let's say.
And the Cinderella story is all.
Yeah, this is the Cinderella story. Is it the Cinderella story? Yeah.
So let's talk about these two rooms because they're important. We were in the B room, and I said that it could be a public place. So probably public attend rituals over there. But these two rooms are special. Any people cannot enter this place. Only kings and high priests could enter these rooms. These rooms were filled with statues, probably statues of deities and some other religious artifacts. So there is nothing of them, of course. Now, but it used to have many colorful and probably beautiful artifacts.
Is that an altar over there?
Yeah, probably.
And there is also something that looks like a statue. Check this out. It also looks like an altar.
Yeah.
And here we have a bigger altar, probably to what? To do what?
Altar is simply a table that you put your offerings to the gods. So Hittites made many offerings. They could use fruits and vegetables and also beer. Yeah, beer also is an important offering because gods love beer.
So which beer? Bomonti, Tuborg, what?
So actually there are
it's varying from god to god, right? As far as I know, Teshup loves Tuborg, but
red Tuborg.
Red Tuborg.
So there were many recipes for brewing beer. So there was a lot of kind of beer, of course. But beers were seen as sacred. So, okay, little question. Do you think that is wine more spiritual or the beer?
I used to think it is wine because most of the time we are about Christians and we've seen Christian rituals and they are drinking wine. But probably as you are asking it, the answer is beer.
Yeah, the answer is beer for the Hittites because probably they give another significance to wheat and its products. So probably the grapes didn't make them feel divine, but beer indeed did. They produce wine and they drink wine. There is no problem about it. They had grapes over the near areas. But the thing is that the wheat makes you full.
Storage cups that we are witnessing were full of them.
Probably.
Probably,
Yeah.
and this is a capital city, so you wouldn't imagine if these people, whether they are ordinary people or not, they were not so poor, I guess. So they were in better condition when we compare them to other cities of Hattusa, probably.
Other cities of Hittite, you mean? But
Hittite, yeah.
city life is different. Okay, when we think about the city, okay, let's think about Ankara.
Mm-hmm.
In Ankara, there are workers. In Ankara, there are many lower class living in the capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
So probably Hattusa didn't have them. So you cannot survive here if you have little income. If you are poor, probably if you are poor, you will go and farming. You go farm, you go fish.
So, and Hattusa doesn't offer you much of green fields, so you're just going somewhere else to do that.
So in the city, higher class lived probably. So even in the city, we have a division of lower and upper city. But even in the lower city, there were wealthy people compared to rural areas. Of course, they were not villagers.
These walls were built with the same equipment in the era that they were built by Hittites. So these walls were more or less like this back in the Hittite days, right?
Yes.
Probably.
So if you go closer, you will have the chance to look the texture, and you will understand how this brick things works.
So we have no entrance to inside and upside down. But we do with the drone shot. Let's see the texture.
In first we have a stone base, right? That's what we see in the temple, that's what we see in the other structures. At base we use stone. Why stone? Because you want a solid base, right? On top of them, they can use wooden sticks, and of course mud bricks. So when you had mud bricks, you should create a layer, a single layer. Okay, so you see that it's very dusty. And also they use this like grass-like things to make it stand solid.
So it gets durable when you add them.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's the aim, that's the function. So otherwise you will get holes like this. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the mud brick over there. Mud brick is exposed. And the layer. This mixture of grass and maybe animal disposal and all the things make another layer. So can we get any catch inside? No.
Well, I don't think there is something inside worth to see.
Yeah, but it will be nice.
Well, this place was built as an example of applied archaeology. I don't think they thought anything about its interior. They just done it for its exterior and to give us some idea about the age, basically Hittite period of Anatolia, mid Bronze Age and late Bronze Age, right? And also we have another place here. Probably these are the basements of houses that the locals lived.
Yeah, we are near the wall, the city wall. So this place probably was a residence place for lower classes.
This part was basically where Kashkas entered the city. Yes, in the time of Tuthaliya II, right? Basically Tuthaliya II because it's Suppililiuma's father. As far as I know, there is only one time that Kashkas could invade the city, and in Old Kingdom time. So it was only the time of Tuthaliya II, I guess.
So as far as I know, the raid to the city was common.
Mm-hmm.
So the event that you mentioned is special because Hittites had to leave the city. Kashkas came and invaded the city, but for just a few years. and we are not even sure about that, if they burn it all, if the Hittites all leave the city or not. Probably it could be a minor event. Basically they moved to east and create a camp there and lived there for a few years, and then came back to Hattusa to claim what they own.
So we can easily say that the Kashkas has no characteristic. They do not invade the city and go stay there permanently. So they just do their war thing and they attack and they gather whatever they have and they live.
Yeah. So like when you think about, for example, the Turks in China,
Mhm.
so they never conquered the China because they do not have a regular state system. They do not have a proper tax system. They don't know how to deal with this state.
Yeah.
So China was struggling because of the Turks,
Mhm.
but it was just a struggle. They were not rivals. They were not things. So similar concept in Kashkas versus Hittites.
So in this case, Kashkas are Turks and Hittites were Chinese people.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
functionally, they were similar.
Hittites had administrative culture. They know how to deal with large populations, and Kashkas never had an idea to conquer the state. They just want the goods. They just want the food. They just want the gold.
Okay, we're done with the tour of Hattusa. I hope you enjoyed it. We try to give as many information as we can. We try to keep our knowledge as updated as we can, because you know, this archaeology, whenever they found something new, the knowledge is getting updated. So we tried our best, and thanks for watching. You can check the other videos of us, other videos of our trip to Hattusa, Alaca, and basically Boğazkale, Çorum. And thanks for watching. See you in the next videos.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. It makes a difference. And also liking the video makes another difference for me, because you know, YouTube algorithms, YouTube will show my videos to more people that can be interested in Hattusa and Hittites. So see you in the next videos.